Many parents often look at their own height and assume their child's future growth is a closed case. The logic goes that our DNA dictates a strict, unchangeable ceiling. But public health researchers noticed discrepancies in this assumption. The World Health Organization launched a massive study to track the physical development of healthy, well-nourished infants across 6 wildly different countries and environments. This graph shows the results of that study. 6 distinct datasets of infant growth from around the globe that converge perfectly into a single upward trajectory. When environmental constraints are removed, infants everywhere grow at the exact same rate. Our genes provide a blueprint for about 80, but we have direct biological influence over whether they actually reach the top of that blueprint. So, how do everyday habits physically lengthen solid bone and tissue? The process relies on a specific chemical messenger called human growth hormone, or HGH, produced by the pituitary gland, a small structure at the base of the brain. This hormone travels through the bloodstream to stimulate bone elongation. Mapping its release over a 24-hour period shows it doesn't flow on a continuous drip. Instead, the baseline remains low and flat, interrupted by massive, concentrated spikes of hormone release. These sudden pulses are not random. They are entirely dictated by 3 controllable daily habits that act as biological switches, either commanding the brain to build or forcing it to stop. The most significant release of human growth hormone happens in the dark, specifically during the deepest phases of nighttime sleep, known as slow-wave sleep. But modern routines have introduced a silent chemical roadblock to this process: the blue light emitting from phones, tablets, and televisions right before bed. The brain relies on melatonin to initiate deep sleep. When blue light hits the retina, it shatters melatonin production. Back on our 24-hour timeline, the consequence is clear. Without the melatonin trigger, deep sleep is delayed. The anticipated nighttime growth hormone spike flatlines entirely. A child's sleep is an active period of physical construction. Depriving the brain of darkness deprives the skeleton of the signal it needs to grow. Even when the brain successfully releases high levels of growth hormone, the body cannot build new tissue without physical raw materials. Dietary protein provides amino acids, which act as the physical bricks for new muscle and cartilage. Calcium fortifies the lengthening bone structure, while a broad spectrum of vitamins supports cellular expansion. But one common dietary element actively halts this construction process: added sugar. When a child consumes excess sugar, blood glucose and insulin spike. This insulin surge acts as an override command, signaling the pituitary gland to immediately shut down growth hormone production. Biologically, excess sugar operates as an active pause button, halting a child's vertical growth. The third and final lever controlling this biological growth process is physical activity. Exercises like jumping or running apply physical force to the skeletal system, signaling bones to adapt, fortify internal density, and lengthen. This exertion also triggers a secondary response, stimulating the pituitary gland to secrete additional pulses of growth hormone during waking hours. Regular exercise builds physical bone strength from the outside in, while chemically commanding the brain to accelerate growth from the inside out. Reaching peak physical height is simply a matter of perfectly aligning daily biology with the body's natural habits. You remove the biological roadblocks, limiting added sugar and eliminating screens before bed, so the physiological triggers of deep sleep, dietary protein, and physical movement can function. Optimizing these biological triggers builds the child's future health, strengthening bone density, muscle mass, and metabolic resilience. The genetic blueprint is locked on the day a child is born, but mastering this 30% environmental variance ensures they build the strongest, healthiest, and tallest possible version of themselves.